This is Spirited Stardust, and I'm here to wrap up the books that I've read this week, and I had an excellent week this week, I must say. I read a total of 7 books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Some graphic novels, some fiction, some non-fiction. I, as you know, have been branching out from my regular fantasy sort of genre and just picking up anything that catches my eye at the library. And yeah, it's been a very fortuitous, what's the word, strategy, to be honest. I think I should have done it sooner. So I'll just get straight into it. I'm just gabbing on. So I'll start with the non-fiction first, get them done. I read The Anatomy of Anxiety, Understanding and Overcoming the Body's Fear Response by Dr. Ellen Vora. They challenge the conventional view of anxiety as a mental disorder, suggesting instead that much of what we call anxiety begins in the body. Rather than our troubled thoughts creating physical symptoms, she argues that many types of anxiety are the result of states of imbalance in our bodies, whether blood sugar crashes, caffeine highs, or sleep deprivations. So this, obviously, it touches on Western medicine for anxiety, so your typical prescriptions, but it also takes a much more holistic response. So it does talk about diet, sleep hygiene, stress reduction. She also talks about psychedelics in terms of psilocybin mostly, but also things like MDMA and LSD to help treat depression. So I liked her approach. I'm reading this because, as you know, I used to suffer from anxiety and trauma and stress, and then I tried everything I could, every lifestyle thing that you can imagine, all the medications, nothing worked. And then I tried psilocybin, and it was just instantly freed from that prison of anxiety. So I'm reading this though because my children have anxiety disorder, and I'm trying to find ways to help them. Obviously, I'm not going to give my children psilocybin. That's a great time to scratch, babe. So I'm trying to find other methods, and this was excellent. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It has a breadth of information. I like that it looks at a whole body perspective, not just treating the symptoms. They're trying to, treat the causes, and there's a lot of techniques in that I'm going to utilize to try and help my children be more at ease in their body and hopefully not have to suffer with anxiety and depression and trauma and all that stress response that I had to. So that was really great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the cover too. Really pretty. The next one, I think that was the only non-fiction, really, just one non-fiction. Okay, so I'll do the graphic novels. We've got Penny Dreadful, based on the series by John Logan. There's a lot of authors on this one. So this is supposed to take place 6 months after Vanessa's death. I'm really not going to get into it a lot. I'll just show you the types of illustrations. The cover's very misleading. So I got this because I thought, oh, Vanessa's going to be in it. And literally that's the only reason I got this. I just want more Vanessa. I didn't like how her story ended with the show, as you can imagine. I was hoping there would be, her and Ethan in this. There's no Vanessa. So I was severely disappointed. I gave this 2 stars. I didn't really like it. I didn't care about the storyline. The illustrations, they're okay, but it's not my favorite style. It's really heavy on the black ink. And yeah, just couldn't care less. So I think she does come back, but it's not in a good way. So I'm done with this series, unfortunately. I was holding out hope that I could continue on. Next we've got Fangs by Sarah Anderson. I Want Your Blood, that's what it says on the back. I'll show you the illustration style. So this is a really cute little story about a vampire who falls in love with a werewolf and their life together. And it's adorable. It's just little snippets of couple life with obviously the nuance of her being a vampire and him being a werewolf. It was adorable. It's really fun. It was lighthearted. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is probably one of the first graphic novels that I was like, that was fun. I liked it. It was easy, quick to read, and it put a smile on my face. So it's very light. And I'd say light and fluffy, but obviously there is like blood sucking and stuff in it. But it's just a little slice of couple life, and I thought it was adorable. So that was Fangs. That was fun. Fangs was fun. Next, we've got Scott Pilgrim, Precious Little Life by Brian Lee O'Malley. Scott Pilgrim's life is totally sweet. He's 23 years old, he's in a rock band, he's between jobs, he's dating a cute high school girl. Nothing could possibly go wrong unless a seriously mind-blowing, dangerously fashionable rollerblading delivery girl named Ramona Flowers starts crushing through his dreams and sailing by him at parties. I gave it 4.5 stars because I tried to imagine if I hadn't seen the movie. So if you've seen the movie, you know everything that happens in this book. It is a play-by-play. Like there is nothing new here. It's just like reading the book in graphic novel form. I like the illustrations. I like it's really encapsulated that vibe, that cutscene style, that like sort of frenetic like energy of Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is a dick. Let's be real here. It's like you have to ignore the fact that he's 23 and then he starts dating knives. I'm like, no, bro, she ain't really legal. I don't know how that works. So just ignore that and him being a douche. I love Scott Pilgrim. The movie is one of my literally favorite movies of all time. I love the cinematography, the acting, the writing, the music. It's just an all-round excellent, fantastic movie. It's so freaking quotable. And obviously this is like the same. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but unfortunately I've already seen the movie. I'm not going to continue on with the series. But yeah, if I hadn't seen the movie, I would have had a blast reading this. It's hilarious. So that was Scott Pilgrim. Hey baby, Sylvie. Okay, so then we've got the fiction. I'll start with Hex by Jenny Fagan. Let's have a read. It's always an insight. It's the 4th of December, 1591. On this, the last night of her life in a prison cell, several floors below Edinburgh's High Street, convicted witch Gellis Duncan, I still don't know how to say her name, guys, receives a mysterious visitor, Iris, who says she comes from a future where women are still persecuted for who they are and what they believe. As the hours pass and dawn approaches, Gellis recounts the circumstances of her arrest, brutal torture, confession and trial, while Iris offers support, solace, and the tantalizing prospect of escape. Hex is a visceral depiction of what happens when a society is consumed by fear and superstition, exploring how the terrible force of a king's violent crusade against ordinary women can still be felt right up to this present day. This was heavy. I can't remember what I rated it. I think I rated it around 3. I have to start writing it down because I never remember. And that's because it's sort of written in a stream of consciousness style of way. So it's very difficult to like understand. Like I'll just give you an example of like how it's formatted. So as you can see, each little hyphen is a different person talking, and yeah, that's just really hard for me to read. It's really like muddled for me, and I don't really enjoy it. And it deals with a lot of dark stuff, obviously. The witch trials, so there's like trigger warnings in this. There's mentions of like rape and torture and yeah, not fun stuff. It's a bit like, it's a little confusing like what Iris is. It's a very short story, and yeah, look, I didn't really love it, I'm going to be honest. I read it, it's short, it's quick, but it really isn't for me, and I'm wearing my glasses again. I've turned the light off, but I think it's still getting the outside light, so I guys just couldn't be bothered put wearing contacts. So it wasn't for me. That's Hex. Then we've got this, my cat's chewed it, so now I'm going to have to buy it from the library. Thanks, darling. This is called Catchlights by Naomi Pryor. I don't mind. I think I rated this 5, so I don't mind keeping this. Cat chewed up copy. Right. An Irish vagrant with a strange ability wanders Kew Gardens. She knows that the fine weather is going to break, and the impending rain casts her mind back to a riverbank where a shady fisherman once asked her for help. The same fisherman years later runs into a childhood friend and becomes intrigued by his wife. She in turn is charmed by his boldness and his confidence, and one day she goes out for a walk and never returns. In another time, in another place, a photographer noticed 2 ghostly figures of a man and a woman on pictures developed from his vintage lens. The images become clearer with each roll of film, but his dogged investigation of the mystery could cost him dearly. So spool out the lives in catchlights. The past contains a present and future. Shallow and deep acts of cruelty, love, selfishness, and kindness reverberate for years. So I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a bunch of short stories, but they are all interconnected. They're all interwoven. It's like a reflection of human life. There is sadness and tragedy and love and joy. I loved her style of writing. Some chapters were more enjoyable to read than others. It was so interesting though to see how it all connects, how it's all interconnected, how it all works out, how they all these people's lives affect each other. I had a blast. This was really great. I just really enjoyed it, and it was almost even haunting in a way too. But yeah, really thoroughly enjoyable. So that was Catchlights, which I'm not mad about having to keep. And then we've got Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. Well, that's hard to read. A young witch, like you can't even see that writing. I don't know. It's a gothic retelling of the juniper tree. I think that's what it says. As the last true witches living in a city shifting from magic to industry, Marlinchen and her two sisters are little more than a tourist trap, treating their clients with archaic remedies and beguiling them with nostalgic charm. By day, Marlinchen divines secrets while trying to placate the tyrannical, xenophobic wizard father, but at night she and her sisters sneak out to enjoy the city's amenities and revel in its thrills, particularly the recently established ballet theatre, where she meets a dancer who quickly captures her heart. But as her late-night trysts grow more fervent and frequent, so does the threat of her father's rage and magic. And while the city flourishes with culture and bustles with enterprise, a monster lurks in its midst, born of intolerance and suffused with old-world power. Caught between history and progress, blood and desire, Marlinchen must draw upon her own magic to keep her city safe and find her place within it. Holy hell, this is dark, guys. Deliciously dark, but dark all the same. It's got every single trigger warning that you can possibly think of. I'm not even going to list them all. There's a lot of darkness in this, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved her writing. Excellent writing. The characters are amazing. They're all nuanced. They're all fleshed out. The father, oh God, he deserves to burn in the fire of 1,000 hells. Let me just say that. For the abuse that he inflicts upon his wife, his children, outsiders. He's a piece of crap. The love, the romance in this, it's two very tortured, abused souls who manage to find solace and acceptance and love with each other. It's beautiful. There's just so much going on. There's like a mystery to uncover. There's like a monster killing people. The daughters are trying to figure out how to escape their father's like cruelty and basically imprisonment. He literally imprisons them. And the main character, Marlinchen, she's quite young. She's quite naive. She's suffered already so much, but she's also been sheltered, and she's got that battle between obviously wanting her freedom but feeling obligated to her father and sisters, and then she's got the wings of like a new love forming that sort of wakes her up and energizes her and gives her courage. She's amazing. She's complex. They're her sisters, Undine and Rosenrot, or Rose. Also very enjoyable to see their relationship with each other and their relationship with others and their magic, the forms of magic and that. And this is really cool, really interesting. The manner is really interesting in which they live, so the setting and the place. I just really enjoyed it. But like I said, it is really heavy. I wasn't expecting it. I know it's a retelling of a Grimm's fairy tale, and Grimm's are quite full on with their tales. They are quite violent. They are violent delights. But yeah, this was just, there was a lot to digest, so much to digest, but I did just sort of skim with the trauma stuff. It just sort of just like, oh my God, just let it go. I don't want to like hold on to it. I was more invested sort of in Marlinchen's quest for freedom and love, and sort of just wrap myself up in that. I was like, man, just leave everything else to the side and let me just focus on that. But I love the writing, so I'm going to look up more of Ava Reid's books because I just liked it. Yeah, it's hard to talk without spoiling it, obviously, but this was a wild ride, and I wouldn't say it has a happily ever after ending, but it is satisfactory in a way, and it's what you'd expect of something like this. But yeah, Juniper and Thorn, really highly enjoyed it. So that's everything I've read. I'm going to do my TBR now, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to possibly read this coming week. Normally I don't know what I'm going to read if I'm doing, just climbing my windows, if I'm doing ebooks, because I sort of just, I borrow a bunch and then decide what do I feel like today. But I've got library books, so I have to read them within a certain time frame and give them back. I've already started reading, so I'll let you know in case you wanted to read along for next week. I've got Zen Parenting by Kathy Kasani Adams. I've already started that one. Understanding Ourselves so we can take better care of our children. I've got Soul Speak, The Language of Your Body by Julia Cannon. What is your body telling you? What is pain telling us? Why do we make ourselves so sick? I've got Captain Starlight's Apprentice by Catherine Hayman. Inspired by the life of one of the last Australian bushrangers, Catherine Hayman's Odyssean tale celebrates the magnificent imaginative power of the human spirit. I've got The Druid by Jeff Wheeler. Some terms lead to learning and others lead to madness. I'm not going to read much more. You can look these up if you want to have a read along. And then we've got Flung Out of Space, inspired by the indecent adventures of Patricia Highsmith by Grace Ellis and Hannah Templar. As it would be, Flung Out of Space is both a love letter to the essential lesbian novel The Price of Salt and an examination of its notorious author, Patricia Highsmith. So that's that one. This is a graphic tome. I wouldn't even call it a novel, it's like a tome. So that's what I plan to read. I am going to go on to the spoilers, and if you don't want to listen to that, I'll see you later. But spoiler, I'm just going to talk about Juniper and Thorn. Holy shit, Batman. This was intense. The father, I'm glad he didn't even get punished enough for what he did, what he inflicted upon his children, he murdered his wife, like he turned his wife into a freaking bird and then ate her. He was turned his daughter Marlinshan into a monster every evening, and she would go and kill men and bring him back their livers and hearts to satiate his hunger from his curse. He did so much more. He just tormented them. He made them drink a potion every morning to test their virginity, and if they were no longer virgins, they will cough up their own liver and die. Like, he just fucked with them so bad. He allowed his daughter to be sexually molested in front of him, no less, repeatedly. I can't. Obviously with her love interest, Sevas was such a little sweetheart, and my heart broke for what he had gone through, but them just finding each other, it warmed my heart so much. Just, I wasn't really into the love making on a floor of glass. I'm just like, that's not going to work. Like, you can't just be like, just brush the glass out of my hair. Like, that shit's going to cut you up. I don't know how that works. But I love that he just accepted her, all of her light, dark, and shadow. He's like, I'm with you. Like, no matter what, I'm with you. And it doesn't matter. You can show me your ugly side and I will love it all the same. And that was just like, her sister Undine, Jesus Christ. All right, bestiality sort of, I guess. But she was quite obviously duplicitous, like Rose, but I don't think she felt any guilt for it. She's like, better off to throw Marlinshan under the bus than myself. So that was that. Rose, Rosendrot, which is Rose Red. I felt for her, obviously, too. There was some queer representation. She was into women. I feel like she was like in the middle. Like, I feel like she did have a conscience, and she felt guilty for, making the potion that her father gave her sister. But she was so scared, and she just didn't want to get hurt. She didn't want to deal with that. So if my postman's come, that's great. I understood, you know, that she just wanted to protect herself, and that meant her sister had to pay the price. I don't really blame her for it. She's a scared little girl. All of them were tormented. And yeah, obviously then there was Sevis's, you know, Sevis's handler, and I use that word lightly, like pedophile and master and whatever else you want to call him. I'm glad he got his comeuppance, and Sevis was able to be freed from him. But there was just so much in this, guys. So much stuff happened, and I just felt for Marlon having to like reconcile all of that stuff, and the fact that she also she killed her own sister. It's not really her, but it's a lot to handle. I'm going to leave it there because there's too much to unpack with this. I'll be talking forever, but I really did enjoy this, and I'm glad that Marlon and Sevis got to, you know, go away and start a new life back where his, you know, family's from, and be together and just enjoy their days. And same for Rose with her little apartment and her garden. I'm really glad they get to get away and live somewhat of a peaceful life. So that's everything I read this week. I hope you're having an extraordinary morning or afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And as always, stay well.